Okay, in this video I'm going to discuss with you conditional statements. And so if you'll have your notes ready, we'll begin. First thing I want to do is just talk to you about conditional statements. And if you'll look at these sets of notes, and we'll define what a conditional statement is. First of all, it begins with an if and ends with a then statement. And that's what a conditional statement is. Each of these components have titles. The hypothesis is a part of a conditional statement following the word if. And in like manner, the conclusion is the part of the conditional statement following the word then. Now, one thing you need to understand is that conditional statements are either true conditionals or false conditionals. And a conditional statement is false when the hypothesis is true, but the conclusion is false. And all we have to do is find a counterexample. So let's take a look at an example. So if it snows, then we will always get out of school. So again, here's a conditional statement, if then. And this one is a false conditional statement because the conclusion is not always true. Yes, we do get out for snow, but not always. So at any rate, this is how you would phrase these conditional statements, is through if and then. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at several examples. The first one is, if you have a smartphone, then you can text friends. So the if part, that's your hypothesis, and the then part is your conclusion. Here's another one. If you do your homework, then Mrs. Kitchen will be happy. Yay, yes I will. All right. The hypothesis and conclusion, again, follow the if and the then statements. If you play football, then you will be tackled. I guess that depends, but this could be a false conditional statement, but I suppose it's true. Some of you out there may have to prove me wrong. The hypothesis is if, the conclusion is your then portion. If you fail to show up for work, then there will be consequences. And I suppose depending on where you work, that's debatable. But at any rate, it still is a conditional statement. And even Scripture, many Scripture verses are conditional. Now this one only has the if part. We don't see the word then. If we did, we would put it right there. And one of the things that we're going to look at next is, what if it's not in an if-then format? Well, we can rewrite it in such. So again, let's just take a look at some examples. Y'all hear that? Oh, fire truck. I'm not going to start this over. We're just going to have to listen to the fire truck. Anyway, so here is a statement. All right angles measure 90 degrees. It's not an if-then format. But what I can do is add a few words and make it an if-then statement. So notice I had to add the condition. If an angle is a right angle, then it will measure 90 degrees. So again, I did have to add some words to this just to make it sound correct. I couldn't just say all right angles then measure 90 degrees. That wouldn't sound right. Same is true for this next one. All vertical angles are congruent. So ask yourself the question, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about angles. So if two angles are vertical angles, then they are congruent. And again, in a given situation, you're not going to have any more than a pair of vertical angles. So that's why I could include the word two. All cats chase mice. I wouldn't want to say, if all cats, then chase mice. So we have to add in some words. So I just, and some of this is arbitrary. So the wording doesn't have to be exact. So if an animal is a cat, then it will chase mice. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. That could be a false conditional, but at any rate, this is the way that you set up if-then statements. So some of the stuff that you see, I didn't give you out notes for, so just jot down a few examples. You don't have to write every little thing. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks. We'll see you in class.